George was happy when somebody came, especially he liked the big guys. Bigger the better.
Yeah, he did. He did.
If we brought some big guys over to him to see if they can punch, or George liked to test them. And I remember this as yesterday. First, George would ask them, now you punch me. Here is my solar plexus. You punch me there as hard as you can. And then usually he would go, okay, punch again, punch again, punch again, harder, harder, harder. And I could see in these guys' eyes that this is all they can. They cannot punch any harder. And then George would say, okay, now it's my turn.
Oh,
and then the guys would get so scared.
yeah.
You could see in their eyes, they would get so scared because they knew what's going to happen. It's like they could not imagine, but they knew it.
So I went over there, and the dumbest thing I said is, I want you to hit me because I want to feel this, right? Well, that was a mistake.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you hit me, I mean, it was like I was like nauseated.
That's
the hardest. And then George would just not even hit them hard, just like, I don't know, maybe medium, and look to me like he would hit them maybe not as hard as they would hit us, but the guys would get destroyed. And
yeah. So
rarely ever anyone ever came back again because they couldn't deal with their egos.
And I started training Okinawan karate. I eventually, at this point, I'm a 9th degree in that. But I had a karate club in Ann Arbor, and an old black belt colleague of mine comes in. I'm going to call him Eric. Eric comes in. He's like, hey, there's this guy in Southfield, and I'm training with him like a couple times a week, and he's pushing me around with his finger, and I can't stop him, but I can't move him. He hits me at will, but when I can just, if he lets me hit him, he'll just say, hit me anywhere. I don't care. And I'll hit him as hard as I can, even like, side kicks to the leg and stuff like that. And he's like, he just stands there like nothing's affecting him. So I go to see George, and he was just purely excellent. His movements were refined and tremendous.
If you watch it, a lot of people say it's not real.
Yeah.
But get hit by George, yeah, you're going to find out how real it is.
It's real fast.
I mean, it's just, the guy is one hell of a guy. Very knowledgeable, very strong.
So he was just very impressive. I was hooked from the first class.
Yeah.
I just can't emphasize how much learning there is to be had from going to see someone with his pedigree, which he has.
Yeah, he sure does. Try to do it sideways. He just went like this, flicked his wrist,
knocking on a door.
And I felt like I'd been hit with a battering ram. It felt like somebody, like the SWAT teams use those metal things to bust open the doors. That's what it felt like. It was just an awful gut punch. And that was literally just flicking his wrist into me. There was no arm movement, no hip, no leg, no twisting, no pecs, none of that stuff. Boom.
You don't see anything. And that's part of the power. And then he hits you, and it doesn't, I won't even say he's a good puncher. He's a great striker. Because it could be the back of his hand, it could be his forearm, it could be his shoulder, elbow, whatever he wants to hit you with is going to feel like a 500-pound bag of wet sand or something just slammed into you.
Tell you what, I have never been hit that hard before. I mean, it sent me flying. At the time, I weighed 230 pounds. I'm 5'11", 230 pounds. Because that guy hits like a freight train. I have never felt power like that before in my life. The power that he has, and it just sends you flying, and it's crazy.
Say that he hits like a freight train, or he hits like a sledgehammer. That's what I called it.
This is deep thinking through the mechanics,
right?
Through the physics, if you will, and the psychology.
Right. Still, it just amazes me how hard he can hit from nowhere. I couldn't even imagine him throwing a wild haymaker. But that ain't even the way he does it, and he's very powerful.
So I trained with him, and I went home thinking, what just happened here, man?
Yeah.
So when he hit me, I mean, it's like, your spirit just kind of leaves you. You do not want to fight this guy.
George is an alien, maybe. I don't know what George is, but I know what his level is.
Because I'm like, this guy is amazing. I'd never seen nothing like what he does.
What George can do non-telegraphically in just a few inches is devastating.
And then he got better and better and better and better. I've never seen that in my entire life of all the years in martial arts. I've seen, we all get better, but not like leaps and bounds.
They can't handle it. I mean, I couldn't handle it. It made me for years go, huh? What? No trickery, magic. Did he drug me? What's going on? Like,
Yeah.
George's mind is a whole other step above others. How he thinks, how he perceives.
With him, it's just like a mechanical force. Like he just keeps on trucking,
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
He kind of has this like sixth sense of like what you're gonna do. There'll be some times that I'm over there and it's like I feel like I can't move or do anything because like he's just gonna come out of nowhere. That's what it feels like.
And the correct term about George is that guy hits like a freight train. Studying with George, and I saw it was capable. I took everything and threw it away because I'm like, this guy is amazing. I'd never seen nothing like what he does. Never.
Well, all right, I'm really going for it. And George goes, all right, go for it. And this is bare hands too. So if I hit someone, I'm going to hurt them.
Yeah.
And I'm going left and right and left, and he starts laughing. He says, George.
Okay.
And I met up with George and experienced the sheer power, like I call it. He hits like a sledgehammer. And he will let you know it. You want to know what it feels like. It don't take long. And
he would start throwing me around. I've never been thrown around like that.
He goes, Dan, he goes, I've gotten to the point where he goes, I'm George. I'm not the Sistema guy. I'm not the C-Lot guy. I'm not the, BJJ guy. I'm George. Because he gets so sick of all the politics around so much of it, right?
He would literally, and I'm 6'2" and 270 pounds, and he would push me so fast and hard all the way across the garage. We would be at one end of the garage and I'd go flying into the wall on the other side. And I just couldn't understand how him being, especially he's about 50 pounds lighter than me. And I would even lean into it and try to stop him. And he was just able to still uproot me and send me flying across the garage.
Yeah. He said, George could sit in a chair and hit me harder than I've ever been hit in my life, using no legs, no power, no nothing. You know what I mean? None of that.
I was 6'2", 280 pounds, and very, very solid. Like I said before, I have been hit by some of the best out there. I've been hit by Grandmaster Ed Parker. I've been hit by Grandmaster Paul Mills. I've been hit by some of the best people out there. I can just go on and on about that, but that doesn't mean anything. When he hit me, it was the hardest I had ever been hit in my entire life. And he didn't put anything into it. It wasn't like he had to reach way back and assert himself to hit me. It looked like he just reached out and kind of tapped me. And at first, that's kind of how I was thinking. Yeah, this ain't gonna, And the next thing I know, I'm on the ground. I don't go to the ground. I've never been that kind of person that you can hit me and drive me to the ground.
I mean, it's not necessarily go back to the drawing board. It's necessarily learn how to not get hit by George.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, his short punches are just as deadly as his full punches. I was watching him, and he had an MMA fighter punch him in the throat.
Dan Theodore.
Yep.
Anyway,
it's frustrating how good George is because it like breaks your ego and breaks your whole matrix of what you think is what.
Because she really wanted to see who would win. Yeah. And I'm like, I can't stop him.
George hits like a sledgehammer.
But if George could break my neck within seconds if that's what he chose to do. George could one punch probably break every bone in your facial structure where you'd be going through multiple surgeries with the top surgeons in the world just to, not be mush with broken orbitals and cheekbones and stuff. So, yeah, I mean,
only a couple people here in Michigan. I've done them all. I've been over to Canada one time. I trained over. Yeah, I did. And it was, but as far as what people can do, I don't think people can do more than George, man. I mean, he's the top of the top, I've tried other people. It's just ain't the same.
There's a saying that goes along in Kenpo. It's to See is to doubt, to hear is to be deceived, but to feel is to believe. I believe. I felt it. I don't need any other convincing whatsoever. I 100% felt his power, and he wasn't even giving it.
He's just playing around or whatever. But when he hits you, when you feel that impact, it's like I said, it's a whole different ball game, man. I used to go to boxing gyms and go to war with people, man. Them gym wars were terrible, and it still ain't as bad as George.
Nobody else has taught these things that he did back then.
But one thing I would say also, I would not fight George if I had the opportunity to run away.